Okay. So we can move on from where we were the other time. So we talked about what is economics, what is micro and macro. We also talk about some of the basic concepts in economics, some of the questions also. Now today, I want to continue from where we were. I think we were in this concept of problems of economics. I think it was problems, if I'm not sure. Let me check where we were. If not problems, maybe it is a basic concept. Let me see. Yeah, we were talking about basic economic problems. That is what we were doing. So make sure your phone is, if you are using your phone, don't auto-rotate your phone. So don't auto-rotate your phone. So make sure your phone is the way you usually use it in a normal circumstance. So don't auto-rotate. So I want us to continue with the basic economic problem. So basic economic problem. Basic economic problems. So basic economic problem. So we talked about some of the items. We talked about scarcity. We talked about the choices. We talked about the choices. So these are the economic basic problems. Let me set them. Then we start from where we were. So we have the scarcity. Number 2, we have choice. Number 3, so these are the economic basic economic problem. So in an exam, if they tell you state any basic economic problem, so these are what you shall say. We have scale of preference, scale of preference. Then we have opportunity cost, opportunity cost. And then number 5, we have production possibility curve. Production possibility curve. This one is PPC. So we did the scarcity. So scarcity we did in the previous class. We did choice. So we did scarcity and we did choice. So we remained with scale of preference and opportunity cost and PPC. So I want us to start with scale of preference. Let us start with scale of preference. So we start with scale of preference. Scale of preference. So these are the basic economic problems. So in an exam, if you find a question to state or explain any basic economic problems, so you shall state these items. So we did a scarcity and choice. Now we continue with number 3, scale of preference. Yes? Rudia, sijakusikia. You can type.
Sauti yako iko chini sana.
Oh. So na sahi unanisikia ama make sure phone yako umeongeza sauti zaidi yako. So hao
Bado
wengine
iko chini.
So hao wengine mnanisikia? The others ndio tujue shida iko. The others
Mimi nakusikia.
So I think it is Hazel. Maybe you can try you can check your volume. You can try and check your volume because the others can hear me. Okay, let us continue as she's working on that. So if you don't hear me, you can type on the chat. So scale of preference. So scale of preference. And we talk about scale of preference, we're talking about list. So the list of items or ones. So when we have various ones, so those ones, we can categorize them as scale of preference. So those are ones that a person desires. So we can define it in this way. It is described. So it is described as list of all ones. As list of all ones. So a list of all ones to be satisfied, arranged in a particular order. So a list of all ones to be satisfied. To be satisfied, arranged in order of priority. In order of priority. In order of priority, importance. Now, if the ones have not been arranged in a particular order of importance, it means that there is no problem of scarcity. So because we have the issue of scarcity and the resources are limited, we therefore need to choose what we want to satisfy our need in their order of priority. So those items that we choose in their order of priority, the most important items, those items is what we call the scale of preference. So the scale of preference comes because of the issue of scarcity, as we said in the other class. So the issue is about scarcity, and therefore we need to choose the important items to first satisfy before we move to the next important item. So we start with the most important item towards the least important item. The concept of scale of preference, so another item we can write, which is important. The scale of preference underscore the concept of scale of preference underscore so underscores the basic assumption. The basic assumption in economics that economic agents exhibits rational behavior in the process of making choices. Now it is based, so we can say it is based on the assumptions of the economic agent who exhibits rational behavior. Remember, when you talk about rational behavior, if you remember, we talked about it in the other class. We talk about rational behavior. This is a behavior where a person try to do something that benefit them. So any person who is rational in nature will tend to do something that satisfies their need first. Now, the scale of preference is also based on that assumption that a person or an economic agent would exhibit the rational behavior in a manner that he will tend to do things that will satisfy their need first. So it is based on that assumption. So we talk about rational behavior in the previous class. And also remember, we also talk about economic agent. So now that kumbusha what we said about economic agent, and what are the examples of economic agent. So in case in an exam you find a question, explain the term economic agent and give examples. So economic agents, these are people who do various activities in the economy. So people, it can be a person, a group, or firms which do various activities in an economy. And a good example of an economic agent is an individual. So an individual is a good example of an economic agent. The reason why we are saying an individual, because an individual tends to buy something that will satisfy their needs. So mtu kama, for example, akona need ya kiatu, that person will go to the market to buy shoes. So that process of satisfying that need of a shoes, we can call that person as an economic agent. We also have a farm. So a farm is another example of an economic agent. So a farm tends to buy goods for the purpose of production in order to sell them in order to make profit. So in the process of selling, so they are selling to a particular person or group of people to satisfy their need. Also, that one can be termed as an economic agent. And then the last economic agent that we know is the government. So the government collects revenue in order to satisfy the need of the people in terms of giving jobs and maybe to provide essential services. So we have only 3 economic agents: individual, firm, and agents, and government, not agent and government. So only 3. Now that is all about the scale of preference. So when we talk about the scale of preference, it's where we list all our wants in order of the most important item to the least important item. And remember, it is based on the assumption of rational behavior or portrayed by an economic agents within the economy. So someone is saying I don't know. Someone is saying they cannot see my screen. So can you people see my screen? Let me see if I have make it the spotlight so that everyone can see it. Wait a bit. Now I hope everyone now can see. So if you can see the screen, where we have the board, just click it. Just click it. Then you shall be able to see it. So kindly try and click. So Hazel, can you see now? Just if you can see the whiteboard, just try and click. You can tap it twice if it is not working and see if you can see. So that is all about the scale of preference. This is where we tend to list all our wants in order of their priorities. Number two, the next the next economic problem is opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. So as you can see, post, just put a chart and say you can see. As sitaki niendelee kama bado hujaweza kuona, na wengine sijui kama wanaona ama hawaoni. Okay, let us continue. So now the next problem after scale of preference is opportunity cost. Now, when we talk about opportunity cost, this is the cost that is foregone when you tend to choose something else. So, for example, kuna vitu mbili. So you have good A and good B. Now you pick good A, you leave good B. So the opportunity cost of leaving good B to take good A is what we call the opportunity cost. So you forego other items so that you can get other items. So the cost of leaving the other item, we can categorize it as opportunity cost. So let us describe it here. Refers to the next best alternative foregone. Next best alternative foregone in the process of making choice. In the process of making choices. So when you forego one item and you tend to choose another item, that is all what we call the opportunity cost. Okay, that one is fine. So remember the next best alternative, foregone. So you forego something so that you can take another one. So that cost of which you decide to forego something yenye unge benefit. For example, kama ungechukua B, kuna benefit ungepata. So that benefit yenye ungepata ujapata, to you will be a cost. So that cost is what we call the opportunity cost. That you neglect one so that you can pick another one. So the next best alternative foregone in process of making choices. Okay, let's write something here. Logo 2. A small something here, and we say to an individual consumer, the opportunity cost of a commodity, so the opportunity cost of a commodity, we can say, is the next most desirable commodity. Is the next most desirable the mostly the word desirable inafaa iandikwe hivi, desirable commodity he could choose. That one is okay. So to an individual, when we are talking about an individual, the opportunity cost of a commodity can be described as the next most desirable commodity that can be chosen, the most. So meaning it is the best alternative. So not the next best, the first best. So the first best. So when we talk about this one, opportunity cost of a commodity, we can say the first best commodity that a person can choose is what we call the opportunity cost of the most, sorry, not the first, the next most desirable. So remember, the most next desirable, that one is what you ignore. So the most next. So kama kuna B, product A na B, ukichukua A ni kumaanisha B was the most next. So kama kuna product A and B and you want to choose between A and B, you end up choosing A, meaning A was the first most desirable, meaning the next most desirable is B. So you ignore B. So that B that has been ignored is the opportunity cost of that commodity. And therefore we say the next most desirable commodity he could choose. That is what we call the opportunity cost of a product or of a commodity. So what is ignored to take another one is what we call the opportunity cost. So kama unatumia simu, nilikuwa nimesema make sure your phone hauja tilt, kwa sababu ukitilt you might end up missing some information. So make sure you don't tilt your phone. So those are the two items of the basic economic problem. So we are remaining the last one. The last one is about possibility production curve. So possibility production curve. Okay. And remember, the word cost, might differ in a different circumstance. So under economics perspective, it can be something else, and in accounting perspective, it can be something else. So, but that one we shall see in the future when you shall be doing other items such as management accounting and so on. But for now, the word opportunity cost in this case shall be the next most desirable item, the most next desirable item, or the next best alternative item for a bond. But in the future, we might have a different scenario. For now, we go with that one. Now, let us look at this item, production possibility curve. So production possibility curve. So production possibility, I hope umeandika. Kama hujaandika, make sure you screenshot before nivute. So if you don't have a pen, make sure you screenshot so that you can write later. So I hope free mtu ameandika anyway. So let us talk about production possibility curve as our last problem. As our last concept under basic economics. So that's it. So production possibility curve. So sometimes it is also called production possibility frontier. So production possibility curve. So PPC. Pia sometimes inaitwa production possibility frontier, PPF. So those are the two concepts. They are the same. So production possibility curve or production possibility frontier. Production possibility frontier. Production possibility frontier. Let us define it. Remember, we shall define it under economics perspective, economic as a whole, the whole country. So this one is adopted by the country itself. If a country want to produce two goods, so the assumption under this PPF, the assumption under this PPF is that the government must produce only two goods. So the government is producing two goods, and therefore we need to know at which level should we produce good X and good Y given a specific level of resources. So if the government has a specific number of resources to produce these two goods, the government need to know at which level should they produce good X and good Y in order to utilize the resources effectively. Now let's define first. So this one is it refers to combination of two goods where they should be produced given a specific level of resource. Now this is the definition from here. Let me give it to you. Refers to combination of two goods. Refers to combination of two goods. Refers to combination of two goods that can be produced in a country that can be produced in a country that can be produced in a country when all available resources are fully and efficiently utilized. When all available resources, when all available resources, when all available resources are fully and effectively utilized. Are fully and effectively utilized. So it must be combination of two items where the country can produce two items given the available resources. Given the available resources. Now, as you continue increasing the number of one good, you must end up decreasing the number of the other item because the resources are scarce. So this is the table. In an exam, you can be given this table. So let me just give you a good example of tujaze na nyinyi. So this is the equation. Given the table below, find opportunity cost. Find opportunity cost of, so find the opportunity cost of additional bag of rice. Of additional bag of rice. So this is the question. So we have the table. So let us draw the table. So we have production combination. Production combination. So we have A, B, C, D, and E up to F. We have rice in bags. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So hii inafaa iko kwa table. I hope inaonekana. So you have a table here. We have a small table here. You can unaweza kachora hapo ukajaribu kachora. And then next we have so the two goods ni either rice or butter. Butter wanna produce in tins. So the butter is produced in tins. And then the rice are produced in tins. Acha tuweke hapa tins. So we have 80, 76, 70, 60, 40, na 0. So can you see that one, that table? So I hope you can see that table. So we have the production combination. We have A, B, C, D, E, F. We have rice into bracket bags. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 bag of rice, 2 bags, 3 bags, 4, 5, and 6 bags. Then we have number of butter in tins. So we have 80 tins, 76, 70, 60, 40, and 0. Now, you are required to come up with the opportunity cost of producing an additional bag of rice. Now, even before we continue with the question, I want you to see something. When we produce 1 bag of rice as a country, so if the country decide to produce 1 bag of rice, they shall produce how many tins of butter? They shall produce 80. Now, if the government decide to produce 2 bags, it means they might end up giving a lot in butter. So if they increase the number of rice to 2, the number of butter must decrease so that the resources shall be in a point where it is utilized effectively. So we cannot produce the 2 bags of rice and at the same time we produce 80. So the 80 will reduce to 76. So as we keep on adding the number of bags in an economy, when we are producing rice, we end up giving up the number of tins of butter. So when we keep producing more and more of rice, it means we might the country end up giving up the number of butters in terms of tins. You can also put it in this way. If the country decide to produce more and more of butter, they end up producing less and less of rice. For example, tukianzia hapo kwa 0. If the country produce 0 butter, the number of rice itakuwa ni mingi kwa sababu no resources is being transferred to the butter. So kama there is no resource being transferred to the butter because they are producing 0, ni kumaanisha all resources will be shifted to rice, and therefore rice, we shall produce more bags of rice, which is 6. Now, if we increase now to 40, for example, from 0 to 40, it means we will end up giving 1 unit of rice in order to produce 40 tins of butter. So if we kutoka 0 hadi 40, we can end up giving up 1 bag of rice to kuja kwa 5. If we keep on increasing the number of tins to 60, we end up giving up the number of rice and so on. So tusonge mpaka tufike 80, ni kumaanisha we shall end up giving the number of butter until, so the number of rice until the rice bag becomes 1. Now, Let us answer this question. So given the table below, find the opportunity cost of additional bag of rice. So here, so opportunity cost of additional bag of rice. So I hope inaonekana. So opportunity cost of additional bag of rice. So opportunity cost, wacha niandike vizuri ndio ionekane. So this is what you can be asking an exam. So this is the solution. Opportunity cost of additional bag of rice. So opportunity cost of additional bag of rice. So let us do that one now. So when we talk about opportunity cost, we are talking about so if we are talking about the opportunity cost of additional bag of rice, ni kumaanisha the opportunity cost will be the amount of resource of tins that will be lost when we are consuming butter. Now, for the first one, if we produce one bag of rice and we end up producing 80 butters of tins, it means because at this point we don't have any other item, the opportunity cost will be equal to 0. That one will be categorized as the most efficient part. That one will be considered as the most efficient part. But as we keep on now adding, we shall have opportunity cost when we keep on adding. Now let us add. So when we add another extra so that we have two item of bag, then there is item we shall end up giving. How much? So 80 minus 76. 80 minus 76 will be the opportunity cost of additional bag. How much? 4. So for part B, the combination B, the opportunity cost of additional bag of rice, when you produce 2 bags of rice, the opportunity cost is 4. So we shall end up losing 4 of butter. We shall end up losing 4 of butter. When we add an extra 3, so that we produce 3 bags, then it means we will end up losing 76 minus 70. So how much we end up losing? 6. Now 6 is the opportunity cost of an additional opportunity cost of an additional bag of rice. So 6 will be the opportunity cost that will be lost for an additional unit of rice. If we end up adding 4, then opportunity cost will be 60, 70 minus 60, which is 10. So the opportunity cost of an extra bag of rice will be equal to 10 tins that will be lost. So this one become the 10 becomes the opportunity cost of additional bag, because we shall end up losing 10 of butter. So on, if we increase to 5, opportunity cost will be equal to 60 minus 40, which is 20. If we increase to 6, then it will be 40 minus 0. So that is how you find the opportunity cost of an extra unit of item. Remember, because it is an item which is lost, it must be a negative number. Now that you need to remember, because it is an item which is lost. So remember, if we produce an extra of rice, we lose some item of butter. So that butter, it is in form of negative because we are losing it. So you put it in a negative form. So you need to remember that one. So that is the opportunity cost of an additional bag of rice. So when we produce one bag, then we shall end up producing 80. But because we haven't added any other item, opportunity cost is 0. But when we add an extra, so if you add 2, it means we shall divert some resources to the extra one added here. And therefore, it means we need to reduce the number of butter because the resources are limited. So if we reduce the number of butter from 80 to 76, we shall remain with 4. We shall have a difference of 4. That 4 is a decrease because we have reduced the amount of tins, and therefore it's a negative. So when we write the opportunity cost of a particular item, we write it in a negative form. Now let us explain it. Let us explain this opportunity. I want to write something. We explain now something. I want to explain it using now a graph. So I want to explain this one using a graph. So let us, I hope mmeandika, nataka nivute. Ama niandike hapo chini, sijui kama itatosha. Haiwezi. So let me write it here. So I want to write something here, very important. I need to say, the PPC and remember when we say PPC, remember PPC ni production possibility curve. So nikiwa nimeandika PPC msijiulize PPC ni nini. So the PPC is drawn under assumption So the PPC is drawn under assumption that the society is using its resources to produce two goods. That the society is using, sijui kama inaonekana. I hope inaonekana. So the PPC is drawn under the assumption that the society is using all its resources to produce only two goods. To produce only two goods. That one is correct. Unafaa ukumbuke hiyo. So when you only have two goods, for example, the country is producing rice and butter. So the PPC is drawn under the assumption that the society is only producing two goods. If the country is producing more than two goods, then the problem of PPC is not there. I.e., so I tumia the word rice and butter kwa sababu ndio nimetumia, i.e. rice and butter. Okay? Okay, let's try and draw it. Wacha tujaribu kuichora. So I hope kwa hiyo table kwa sababu mimi nataka nivute. Wacha nivute mpaka hapa. Because I want to draw using a graph. So in an exam akikuuliza, just use a graph. A graph is more favorable. So for example, tuko na hiyo inakaa hivyo PPC. So tuseme hapa ni butter na hii side ni rice. So rice inatoka from 1, so from unit 1 mpaka 6. So hapa tuweke 1 2 3 4 5 6. Alafu butter inatoka from 0 to 80. So tukisema 0 10 20 30 40 mada na 2020 ilikuwa rahisi. Sema hapa ni 20 40 60 80. You can also go with 10 10 10. So you can also go with 10, 10, 10. Now, tujaribu kuchora, let us try and draw it. So, tuanze na A. So, tuanze na A. So, A. So, A, I can produce 1 unit. I can produce 1 unit. I can produce 1 unit of rice. And I produce how many units of 80 units hapo? Naweka hapo. I hope inaonekana. Sijui kama inaonekana. Mtaniambia kama inaonekana. So I can produce 1 unit of rice. 1 unit of rice. And I produce 80 tins. So hapa ni tins. So 1 na 80. Aya, next. I can produce. Sorry, mimi nimefanya mambo yangu hapa. Ni sawa tu. This table, is this table to hii table inafaa iwe sikuona. Hii table inafaa iwe from 0 to 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hivyo. So akiproduce inafaa akiproduce 0 rice 80 tins, so that the product cost is 0. So there is nothing that tuna ignore. Sasa akiongeza moja, akienda hapo kuongeza moja inakuja -4, 80 minus 76. Akiongeza ingine moja inakuja 2, 76 minus 40. So this one iko hapa. So akiproduce 0 inakuja 80. So make sure you change here. Ianze from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 na pia hapa ishie 0 and then ikuja 40, 60, 70, 76 na 80. So that akiproduce 0 the maximum is 5. So akiamua produce number of tins in 0 maximum ni 5 na akiamua produce 0 bag of rice maximum ni 80. Okay, so that one is fine. So to change here from A when free answer from 0, not from 1. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rest will remain the same. Okay, let us continue. Now I can produce 1 kumaanisha hii ingine ni about 76. Tuseme 76 iko somewhere hapo. Nabahatisha. Iko somewhere hapo. Haya. Akiproduce 3 inaenda kwa around 60. Akiproduce 3 inaenda kwa 60. Akiproduce 4 akiproduce 4 inaenda kwa 40. Kwa 40 somewhere hapo. Na akiproduce 5 ni 0. Ni 0, so that we can draw our PPC. So this line represent our PPC. So that is our PPC. So that one is our PPC. So that's how you draw our PPC from a normal, a normal illustration like this one, where we have these items, additional items, and other items. As we keep on adding, we keep on decreasing. So tukiona hiyo mbili, we can easily draw our PPC. Okay. Now at any point along the curve, so this one is A, B, C, D, na E. At any point along that curve, it represents that the country is using their resources well. So it is using their resources well. So at any point along that line, with available technology, the farm can produce the number of units of either rice and butter. So this one, let me explain a bit here. Let me try and explain something here. Kidogo tu. Okay, I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. The boundary formed by joining the curve point. So the boundary joined by forming the curve indicates that there is a limit, indicates that there is a limit of resources, meaning that there is limit of resources i.e. the amount of rice and butter that the country can produce. That the country can produce at any point in time. At any point in time. With available resources and technology. With available resources and technology. Now, which boundary tunaongelea? This is the boundary tunaongelea hapa katikati. So hatuwezi pita. So at any point between A, B, C, D, and E. So let us call it these points, A, B, C, and D. Let us not even call this boundary. Let us call it IE point A, B, C, D, and E. So at point A, B, C, D, and E, at that point, it means that we can only produce a number of butter and rice given the available resource and technology. So for example, at point A, we saw at point A, we can only produce 0 of rice and 80 of butter. As we keep on adding rice, as we keep on adding the number of rice, we keep on reducing the number of butter from 80 to 76. Now, at those points, A, B, C, D, and E, those are the two combinations that we can use to produce the specific number of butter and rice, given the available resources and technology. So at any point along the curve, those points are regarded as the optimal point where the country can produce the resources well. So you can also say at any point along the curve, the country is said to produce a number of butter and rice given the available resources at an optimal level. So that is at any point along that curve, we can easily say that the country is producing the amount of butter and rice given a specific number of resources at an optimal production level. Now, any point below and any point above shall not be categorized as an optimal level of producing product A and B. So any point below, let us say, for example, we have point X, hapa katikati, let us say we have X, na tuko na point ingine hapa nje, Y. Let us assume we have 2 points, point X and point Y. Nataka ni explain here. Sijui kama itatoshea. Now, for example, at point X. Now, at point X is categorized as, we can say that the government is not utilizing their resources. So when we are at point X here, now the farm is not utilizing, so you can say at point X, the country is not utilizing their resources effectively, i.e., meaning that the country is underutilizing available resources. Now, hii tunamaanishaje? So at point X here ni kumaanisha the country can produce more resource given the available resource. But this point is below our line. It's way below the capacity of, this one represents the capacity of the country. So the country can produce at any capacity within that line. So the country can produce can produce at any point because their resources lies within this line. So anything below this line, the country has the resources, but the resources are not well utilized, meaning they are dormant. So meaning in this case, the resources are dormant. So the government is not using the resource. So at point X, it's a point where the country is not utilizing the available resources effectively, meaning that some of the resources are left somewhere dormant, being underutilized. Then you have also point Y. Point Y, it is above our capacity. Now we cannot produce anything above this line. So meaning at point Y, the country does not have sufficient resources to produce at point Y. So that one is all about Y. So we can say, let me do away with this one. So you can say at point Y, the government, let's use the word the country. The country does not have the available resource to produce at that level. So at this point, the country lack the available capacity. So at this point, the country lack the available resources. So sana ukumbuke na make sure you remember. Make sure you remember point A, B, C, D, and E refers to combination of the two goods i.e. butter and rice. Butter and rice. That the economy can produce. That economy can produce. That the economy can produce. Given that all available resources. Given that all available. Given that all the available resources are fully and effectively utilized. Are fully and effectively utilized. Okay, that one is correct. So point A, B, C, and D and E is refer to the combination of the two goods, that is butter and rice, that the economy can produce given all the available resources. So we have point X, hiyo tulikuwa tumeshasema. So at point X, so at that point, the resources are completely idle. You can also add this one. Resources are completely idle. Resources are completely idle. Or they are not efficiently utilized. So it is either you say at point X, the resources are not well utilized, or you can say the resources are completely idle. Kumaanisha zimewachwa, so they are not being used or utilized. You can also say unemployed. The resources are unemployed. So you have the resources, but you are not using them. So you have the resources, but you are not using them. Okay. What part Y tumeshasema? Let me just read part Y. Tumesema part Y, it is where we don't have the capacity to produce at that point. So we can say, but for part Y, so the output level cannot be attained. So as you can say, at this point, so we are talking about point Y. Point Y at this point, the output level cannot be attained. Cannot be attained. Reason why? Because we don't have the resources to attain that kind of a level. So that is level beyond our capacity. So at that point, the output level cannot be attained. So at that level, at this point, the output level cannot be attained. So cannot be attained. So at this point, the output level cannot be attained. So that is all about possibility production curve. So nimesema kila kitu so that ikuwe rahisi. So nimesema kila kitu. Now, the slope of the PPC is the opportunity cost. Na hiyo lazima ukumbuke. Hiyo nayo lazima ukumbuke. Lakini hata tufanye swali and then uonyeshe venye utajaza kwa mtihani. So nataka tufanye swali from past paper. So the opportunity cost under this PPC is the slope. So ukiambiwa what is the slope of the PPC? So the slope of the PPC is the opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost is the measure of the slope of the PPC. So the opportunity cost is the measure of the slope of the PPC. Now let us do a question on our past paper. Let us do a question on our past paper. So I hope you can see my screen. So can you see my screen? I've shared something. So I've shared something here in my screen. Now I want us to read this question. I think it was last sitting. Question number 2A. Question number 2A. So April 2024. Question number 2A. So April 24, question number 2A. With an aid of a label diagram, explain the concept of production possibility frontier. Let us do that question. So with status April 2024. So let's do that question. Let us do that question. So I hope you can you now can you I want someone to tell me if you can click the board and still see the board while we have the question. So nataka mniambie if unaweza click the board uone board na bado unaweza ona swali. Unaweza click pia swali rudi kwa swali. Can you navigate kwa swali na kwa board because na sasa natumia board. So can you click the board and still see the board? Na pia unaweza rudi kwa the question. Hapo tu kwa hiyo penye nime present. I think hapo kama inaonyesha board. So tufanye swali haraka haraka iwezekanavyo. Okay, now Click your board now. I want us to use the board now. So to measure so much, we know what the question is asking. So the question is asking, using a variable diagram, explain the concept of possibility production frontier. That one is PPC. In short, they were asking you to come up with a PPC. So PPC is the same. So 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay, let us continue. So I think some people are not seeing. Let me. I'm doing away with the screen so that we can see the board. Okay, let us answer the question now. So this is how we're supposed to answer the question. So you start with the definition. So we start with what is PPR. So you define what is PPR. So and you say, this is what you shall say. Refers. This is the solution. Refers to the curve. So refers to the curve. To the curve that shows various combination. That shows various combination. Refers to the curve that shows various combination of two goods. I.e., let us go with the rice and butter, rice and butter that can be produced in a country that can be produced in a country when all the resources when all the resources are fully and efficiently utilized. Are fully and efficiently utilized. So that's around how many marks? So that is around 1 mark or 2 if you find a good person. Then you draw our PPC. So if you have time, you can draw the table. And then from the table, you draw the PPC. Kama uko na time. But kama hauna time, just go direct. Draw just a normal curve. But kama uko na time, you can start with the schedule. Then you show the number of rice as it increases. And then the number of butter. Then the opportunity cost of additional number of rice. We do to refanya. But kama uko na time, but kama una time, you go direct. Kuja uandike hapa, we have butter. And we have rice. Then you draw just a simple. And then you point some point to say we have point up here A. We're going to some points B, C, D, and E. Then we say up and we have 0. Say 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then to say up we have 20, 30, 40, na 50. So that iko imeambatana. At least iko imeambatana kidogo hivyo. Hivyo hapo inaonekana. So and then uchukua another point. Just pick any point inside. To hit a point F. And then pick another point outside hapa. Any points G, so that uko na point A, B, C, D, and E kwa laini. Then point F iko ndani ya laini ya our curve. Then point G iko above. Now you start to answer to explain. Let us start with the first one. We call it. So this is how you explain it. You start with the scarcity. Scarcity, and you say boundary formed by curve joining point A, B, C, D, and E, and E, indicates that there is a limit. Indicates that there is a limit. Indicates that there is a limit. The amount of both rice and butter. The amount of both rice and butter. The amount of both rice and butter. The country can produce. The country can produce. The country can produce at any time. At any point of time. At any point of time. At any point of time. With available resources and technology. With available resources and technology. That one is number 1. So that is number 1. So we are talking about the boundary formed by the curve joining A, B, C, D, and E which indicates that there is a limit to the amount of both rice and butter the country can produce at any point of time with available resources. Now, so tumesema at that point, the farm is utilizing their resources effectively. So at any point, A, B, C, D, and E, so the farm can produce at any point, A, B, C, D, and E, given the available resources. So you can also add and say A, B, C, D, and E can be combinations of production given resources are well utilized. So that is one of them. That is one way you can answer that one. So kuna mwenye anasema clean ina show black. Sasa hii bado iko hivyo ama imerudi normal? Imerudi poa ama? So kama imerudi poa, you just type ndio tusonge. Mimi nimeandika ndogo ndogo. Now tunasema boundary formed by the curve joining point A, B, C, D, and E indicates that there is a limit to the resources, the amount of both rice and butter the country can produce. So kumaanisha the resources are scarce, but at any point along that line, along that curve, we can produce A, B, C, D, and E as our combination. We can pick any combination of A, B, C, and D so that we can produce, so that we can utilize our resources effectively. So at that point, resources are well utilized. Okay. So another way you can answer this, we can add, is full employment. Number 2, we can talk about full employment. Full employment, and we say any point so, hata hakuna haja tufanye hivi. Let us do it. Andika tu hapa into bracket kwa hii ya mwisho, hii point ya mwisho hii. Full employment. So ya mwisho A, B, C, D. So that one is full employment. You can call it number 2. Hata. So A, B, C, D, and D can be the combination of production given amount of resources. So with amount of resources given, we can produce at any point in A, B, C, D, and E. That one is full employment. We are utilizing our resources effectively, and therefore we don't have anything left behind. So we don't have anything left behind. So meaning we are fully utilizing our resources. So at point A, B, C, D, and E can be the combination of production given the resources are well utilized. So that is full employment. That is number 2. So number 3. Number 3, we can also talk about unemployment. Unemployment stroke underemployment. So unemployment, so that's another way you can also add. You can add that one. We are still explaining that question, the way you are supposed to answer it. So unemployment stroke underemployment. This is where we have not utilized our resources well. So at point, so that one is at point F, this one. At point F, shows the resources are either left completely idle, stroke unemployed. Or not efficiently utilized. Into bracket, underemployed. Underemployed. That's how you can explain point. That is how you can explain point F. That at point F, the resources are either left completely idle or not efficiently utilized, underemployed. Then you have the last part, point G. So point G explain hapa. Point G. So point G, hello. So at point, we have point G. So let's talk about point G. So I hope it is visible. So we are explaining the possibility frontier curve, and we said refers to the curve that shows various combination of two goods, i.e. rice and butter, that can be produced in a country when all the resources are fully and efficiently utilized. That was the definition of PPR, that Tukachora, butter and rice, and some points here. So you have the points along the curve, A, B, C, D, and E. We have the points below the curve, and you have the points above the curve. So number one, we explain in terms of scarcity. So scarcity meaning the resources are limited, and therefore the boundary, this boundary shows that our resources are limited up to that point. We cannot exceed beyond the boundary. So when we talk about scarcity, we are talking about that our resources so tunasema at this point for scarcity, so for scarcity, we are saying for scarcity, the boundary A, B, C, D, and E shows that our resources are limited. So that one is number one. You can explain it in terms of scarcity, and you say that at point A, B, C, D, and E, the resources are scarce. And then number two, we can explain it in terms of full employment, and we say for full employment, if we pick any combination at point A, B, C, D, or E, any combination, if we go with A, or if we go with B as a country, or if we go with the C, or if we go with the D, if any point the country that choose to produce at. Now, for example, if the country goes with the C, the combination they shall produce two bags of rice and 30 units of butter. So at point C, as one of the point of A, B, C, and D, it means that we have utilized our resources effectively. So that one is full employment. So number two, you can explain in terms of full employment, and you say at any combination that we can choose either A, B, C, D, or E. So at any point of that one, then the resources are well utilized. Then number next, we can explain it in terms of underemployment or unemployment. So underemployment or unemployment kumaanisha is at point F. So anything below our curve. So anything below our curve, meaning that we have not utilized our resources effectively. So at point F shows the resources are either left completely idle or unemployed. Or we can also say that not effectively utilized. So they are underemployed. So that one is that one. And then the last one we can also add is about unattainable level. So we can also talk about unattainable level as number 4. And attainable. Naandikwaje? Unattainable level. Now, unattainable level is at point G, meaning we don't have the resources. We don't have the resources to produce at point G. So kumaanisha the country doesn't have sufficient resources to produce at point G. So that one is called an attainable level. So let's explain it. Let us explain that one, an attainable level. And we say at point G, shows the output level that cannot be achieved by the country. Shows what? Sorry, at point G shows output level that cannot be achieved with current available resources. So at point G, shows the output level that cannot be achieved with the current available resources. So it cannot be achieved with the current available resources. So cannot be achieved with the current available resources. Now we can also explain it using other items. Now the last item is opportunity cost. Now let us do away with this one so that we can explain opportunity cost. Now So let us go with number 5. Opportunity cost. Now opportunity cost, we also explain using opportunity cost, and we say the slope of PPC. So the slope of PPC is referred to us as what? Marginal rate of transformation. Marginal rate of transformation. Marginal rate of transformation, which is MRP. So the slope is usually referred to as marginal rate of transformation, MRP, which measures. So let us explain what is MRP here. MRP. Let us define what is MRP, because we have said the slope of the PPC is referred to us as the MRP, the marginal rate of transformation. And we say it is a measure. It is a measure. It's a measure of opportunity cost. It's a measure of opportunity cost of a unit. More or less of a commodity. So that is the definition of MRP. It's opportunity cost of a unit, more or less of a commodity. So we can either add, so if we add number of butter, then the opportunity cost of additional butter, we shall get the opportunity cost of additional butter. If we add number of rice, we shall get the additional opportunity cost of additional number of rice. And therefore we are saying opportunity cost of a unit, more or less, either we add or we reduce. Either we add or we reduce, we shall get an opportunity cost in that situation. And that one, we shall categorize it as an opportunity cost. So I hope you can see my screen very well. Okay. I think the rest of the item, we can use the board now. So that is all about the PPC. That is all about the PPC. So that's how you're supposed to answer that question in an exam. That is how you are supposed to answer that question in an exam. You can also answer it in terms of economic growth if you want, but that one shall do it later. I think we can stop for now. We shall start from systems. I think we can stop for now. At least we have done a question. So at least we have done a question from past paper. Now tomorrow we shall start from. So tomorrow we shall start from the market system. So that is all. So that is all about today. So any question? So that's how you're supposed to answer that question. That is how you're supposed to answer that question. You answer it in terms of scarcity, and you say the resources are limited within the boundary A, B, C, D, and E. And then if you unasema kuhusu full employment, then you say at point A, B, C, D, and E, any combination of point A, B, C, and D and E, the country can produce given the available resources, that is full employment. Then you can talk about underemployment. Then you say point F, the resources are not well utilized. So we have the resources, but the resources are idle. Then at point G, you can talk about what we call the unattainable level. So at point G, we cannot achieve that level because there is no economic growth. So we don't have economic growth. And then you can also talk about the opportunity cost. We have said opportunity cost under PPC, it's the slope of the PPC, and it's the measure of the opportunity cost of a unit, more or less, of a commodity. And remember, you can also add this point if you want, that at point G can only be achieved with economic growth. You can also add this one and say point G can be achieved with economic growth. And remember what is economic growth? Economic growth refers to the increase in production of goods and services in an economy. So sustainable increase in the goods and service. So we call economic development. So when we say about economic development, it means when economic development grows, our capacity also grows. So this is the definition of economic growth. Sustainable increase. Sustainable increase in production capacity. So sustainable increase in production capacity. Now, when we have economic growth, that's sustainable increase in production, then our PPC will shift. So when we have economic growth in a country, our capacity also increase. And if our capacity production increase, our production frontier curve will also shift to the right. It will find a kesho. So you tell a kesho. So the only way we can achieve point G is for the government to make sure that we have economic growth. And how does we have economic growth? So through coming up with policies that shall boost our production. When we have our production, meaning our capacity will keep on increasing. And if our capacity increases, then our PPC will also shift to the right. So when it shifts to the right, meaning we can also produce at point G when we manage to have economic growth. Anyway, you can also explain it in that way in an exam. Those will be also points. So that is all about our today's class. We shall meet either tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Tomorrow is QA, actually. Tomorrow shall do quantitative analysis. So, but I think we shall start from economic system tomorrow. So we shall start from economic system. So economic system, we shall see some of the economic system, advantage, disadvantage, and their features. Advantage, disadvantages, and their features. And then to pick one. Anyway, that is all about today. We meet tomorrow. Have a lovely night. See you.
Bye.
So for classes, we shall organize so that we have a good timetable. So because we just started last week, I want us to come up with a timetable so that we can have a very clear way we can be having our classes. And then we want to limit our class, so tutakuwa fast. So we want to limit our class to exactly 1 hour. So our class will be exactly 1 hour. So from next time. So I want us to come up with a good timetable for Econ and QA.